So we're going to be talking today about contract repositories best practices. Um, I will kind of talk through that here more in just a second. As always, if you need to get a hold of myself or our support team, feel free to reach out to myself directly, or you can email support as well. And some of those may get routed back to me, but either way, it's totally fine. I recognize a lot of people on the call, but there's also some people here I don't recognize. So welcome if I have never met you before. And yeah, excited to jump in and get going. So let's go right into Concord. I'm going to be demonstrating this from the Horizon platform today, which is the new system. So if this looks a little bit different from what you're used to, it's because it's our newer platform. You might be in our classic version. I will say a lot of the things I'm going to be showing you, it's really kind of the same. It just looks a little bit different, but the ideas behind it and the best practices really would apply to both systems. So no big deal. But if you are interested in upgrading to our Horizon platform, feel free to let me know. Reach out to myself or our support team, and we're happy to have that conversation with you. Cool. Let's go ahead and get right to it. So a couple things I want to talk about with the repository. I'm going to actually jump right into the document view here. So for those of you that have been around for a long time at Concord, you're very familiar with this view. We call it our contract inbox view. The original idea with this view is that it used to look a lot more like an email inbox than it does now. We've made some changes to it, but I still think it does look like that. The idea is for it to kind of look and feel similar to a Gmail or email inbox. Um, and one thing that I'll mention before I really dive in, I'm on calls quite often, and when I'm demoing a brand new prospect or working with a new employee at a company, people always ask me like, hey, so where's the repository? Like, can you show me the repository? The cool thing with Concord is this is all the repositories. So Concord is a cloud-based system. All the data is hosted on AWS. All the data is there. And this is kind of the way that you access and organize your data is through the Concord platform. So this is the repository that we're looking at, and I'll be showing you how we're gonna really help with that organization, best practices, that type of stuff. So anyway, this is our contract inbox view. You can see all the documents that are currently sitting here. This view is fully customizable. You can add or remove any kind of columns or fields you want. I've been working with a lot of customers this week who have really specific fields to their business. And so there's things that they really care about. And so they want to add those directly into this view, and they can do that. And then you can, of course, move things around as well. So just really kind of dial that in to where it makes sense to you. Some people like doing the stage over here to the far left. Some people like having this, so you can kind of just quickly set your inbox view up and customize it the way that you want to. So you've got the columns here to be able to customize that view. You also have the filter. So if you did want to filter down and look at a specific set of data based on different things, you can. And I forgot, I'm going to turn my camera off. Let me do that. And that's because we put these recordings out, and it helps a little bit with that recording if we don't have two different screens going on. So anyway, this is the filters here. And then we do have, in addition to that, our folders. So we've got all the documents here in the inbox. You can kind of see as they come into the system, they'll show up here. And what brings a document into the inbox? Let's talk about that a little bit. So either somebody creates a new document and shares it with you, or if you create a new document, or if somebody makes changes to a document that's already in the system, even if it was like an archive document, that's going to bring it back into your inbox. So there's a number of different ways documents will get here. And the idea with this inbox is once you're done working on something, mine's getting a little bit messy because I've been demoing a lot, you can go ahead and just come up and archive those documents. Now, archive in Concord, it's very important to understand what that actually means because people do get confused with it. Archive does not mean that we're putting it into an archive folder, like a specific place in the system for archive. What archive actually means is that we are just taking it out of your specific inbox. So each user that is in the system will have their own inbox with the documents that they're currently working on, and each of them can archive from their specific inbox. So it doesn't mean that it's like putting it somewhere different. It's still going to be in the same folder that it was always in. It just takes it out of your inbox view. So that's what the archive is doing. So that's this inbox view here. What I would recommend, my kind of best practice would be just get the fields in this view that make most sense to you. So find the stuff that you're going to want to see every day when you log into the system. If I showed you my live Concord account that I use all day, every day to send out contracts, I just have the documents there that I'm actively working on. Everything else is archived, so it's probably got like, 15 to 20 documents in it. And then the fields here are just going to be like contract type, who the contract's with, the status, when it was, last read and sent, and those types of things. Um, that is basically what you want to use this inbox for. We do have our first question. If you archive, will it show up in your search bar when finding files? Yes, yeah. So the documents are all just in the system like normal. It's just taking it out of your specific inbox. So you can still search for it. You can still go to the folder and find it. It just takes it out of your inbox. Yeah. Yeah, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to put those into the chat, and I'm happy to address them as we go. So the next part of the repository, probably the most important part of the repository, is going to be our folder structure. So this is now how we organize, and I say now, it's how we've done things for a long time. But this is how we organize and kind of give document access rights and do a number of different things is based on that folder structure. Last week I did a webinar on folders. I won't go too into detail on those because we just covered it, but feel free to go back and watch that webinar. But with the folder structure here, let me just talk about a couple things that are important. So I'm going to jump into my settings, and we're going to go right into the folders here. So a couple of things to point out with the folders themselves. You can create both main and subfolders. It's very easy to create a folder structure in the system. You just create your folder. And then if you wanted to have subfolders, you're just going to place those inside of the main folder. And you can actually have as many subfolders off a folder as you would like. But the most important part of a folder structure, there's two things to keep in mind. Number one, organization. So just making it organized, making it so people know which folder to go to find the documents that they need. That's very important. And number two is going to be document access rights. So as people start coming into the system, you're going to want to be able to automatically kind of pick and choose who gets to see what documents in the tool. I was working with a customer yesterday, I won't say their name, and they had accidentally given access to some documents. Luckily, like no one was in the account, but some documents that other people shouldn't see yet, just because they kind of gave everybody access to all folders. No big deal because they hadn't added the users, but just keep in mind that the way that we restrict documents in Concord, the easiest way to do that is based on these folders. So if someone has access to the main folder, they do automatically have access to the subfolders and all the documents there. The other thing that the folders will do is help you drive the deadline alert. So if you have access to a document through a folder, you will receive the deadlines for that specific document in the system. So far we've talked about the contract inbox view here. This is kind of your home base. You'll spend a lot of time in your inbox. You have your folder structure. You'll be able to see the folders that you have access to in the system. Obviously, if you're an admin, you can turn on admin access rights, which I'm going to show you real quick because I actually have a lot of people ask about that. So you do have the ability to turn on administrator access. If you turn this on and you're an administrator, that means you have access to every document in the system. You can see everything. So you'll see every folder, you'll see every document as it comes in. They're just there. So that's something where it probably makes sense for you to turn that on if you're someone that just wants to see everything in the tool so you can kind of help manage it all. So little tip there. Let's talk about a few other things within this view. We do also have, so we have all documents. We have our direct access documents. That can be a little bit confusing. These are documents that you actually have been added to. So in the system, we have documents that you have access to through a folder, and you have documents that you have been directly added to because someone has clicked that share button and added you to the document. There's not a huge difference between the two. If you were to go to a document you have access to through a folder, you can still join the document and do all the things on it. But just know like that's what that direct access is referring to. Another thing we have here is our favorites, and I highly recommend using your favorites, especially for things like templates that you're going to be using over and over again. It's just a really nice way to quickly find those things. So the way to set up a favorite is when you're inside of a document or a template, you can come up to this little star next to the title, and you can click that on, and that's going to move it to your favorites folder. The other option you have is to move that to a different folder. So this is where you have your your favorites and your folders are right next to each other. And so if I wanted to move this to a different folder, I could do that here as well. Okay, so we have back in the doc view, all documents, direct access, favorites. Highly recommend putting all your templates here. In my live account, I have like our NDA, I have our DPA, all of our sales order forms, everything is favorited. So I just go straight to my favorites, grab the template I need, and then I can create the document. Makes it really quick. Another question here. Just a feature request to my question above, but would love to see a filter feature to filter out archive files in my search. Essentially, I don't want an old and expired MSA populating in a quick contract pull. Um, that makes sense, but that's not how we look at archive contracts. There's a difference between archive and stages and statuses, and you can filter by stage in the system. So we do have something like that. In that case, I would just recommend using a filter. And we have, if you're using Horizon, we have the new AI-powered search here. And so your search results do pull into this list. They're not pulling into that like separate window like you had in the older version. So you'll have a list of all your documents here, and then you can filter based on these different criteria. So in the newer version, we kind of have a solution for that already, but definitely understand where you're coming from with wanting to not see documents that you don't need to see. So for sure. Cool. Thank you for the question. Keep them coming. Moving on, we have our recent documents here, obviously just stuff we've been recently working on, and then we have all of the folder structure. Now, when we first start with a new customer, the first thing we're going to do is help them bulk upload their existing documents into the system. And so we'll take all the documents that they have today, we can bring them in bulk into the platform. Even if you're a customer who's been with Concord for a long time, you may have contracts sitting somewhere. Maybe they're in, some filing cabinets. Maybe you have them in a certain database or somewhere, then you just never uploaded them into Concord. So if you would like to bulk upload everything in the system, it's actually really easy to do this, especially now with the AI features. And so we're happy to help you with that, but you can go ahead and just turn those documents into a zip folder and you'll bulk upload them here into the system. Now, once you have your documents in the tool, there's a number of different things that we do to those documents to make your life easier. And this is all stuff that I would consider to be main repository features. So I'm going to show you how this all works. So obviously the repository is created based on documents. We're a document management system that focuses on contracts. So, we are a CLM, but it's also a DMS. So basically here I've got a contract that has been uploaded into Concord once it was already signed. So this one was not signed through Concord, but it doesn't matter. You could do it either way. As soon as we bring that document, that PDF in the system, we're going to run it through that OCR. We're going to make a text copy of the agreement, and that OCR copy is what we're going to use to power the data extraction and all the different searches and things in the system. Now, you can even upload a scanned image, and that's going to do the same thing. You can upload a scanned, just an image here, and then the OCR is going to pick up all that text. People always ask me, like, hey, how accurate is your OCR? Do you feel pretty confident in it? The good news is it's not our OCR. We actually use Google's OCR on the back end. It's the best one that we found. We've been using it for many years now, and honestly, we just really haven't had any issues with it. If as long as you can read the text on the paper, it should do a pretty good job of, picking that up and converting it. So that's the OCR. And then we take the data from there and we actually extract it out into the contract summary sheet. The metadata is also a big part of building that database or that repository for us. So obviously the data that we have here in the system is super important. There's that old saying, good data in means good data out. So the better data you're putting into the system when you go to pull reports or go to sell your company to someone and you're doing due diligence, it's just going to make all that process that much easier. So important to have as good of data in the platform as you can. So with the AI, we're going to pull out the agreement category, the doc types, the parties, the description. We fill in all those lifecycle details for you. And then we also have our brand new custom extraction. It's not brand new now, I guess it's been out for a while, but we have our custom extraction agents that will automatically pull out certain details based on what you want to create. So obviously there's only a few things that we're pulling, standard. And so if there's other stuff that you want to see within your contracts, which I'll be honest, most people do, we can go ahead and create those as custom fields as well. So you can pull out, indemnification clause, limitation liabilities, governing law, total contract values, termination rights, like all these different things, pretty much whatever you need to see. I actually have a few companies I'm helping right now that have certificates of insurance that they're uploading into the platform, and they're using the agents to extract out all the things that they need to see within those certificates, like additional all the limits and all the different things that they need to keep track of. So there's a lot you can do with this actually. Um, I have one customer who has over 200 extracted fields for per document. So they've taken the time to build out a lot of agents and have those extracting from all their agreements. So yeah. And then the power of that is you can turn all of this data into the reporting in the system. So we'll talk about reporting in just a minute. We'll come back to that. I first want to talk about one other kind of cleanup when it comes to the repository. So let's go back here. I'm going to talk about the organization, like how to get users into the system real quick and why that's so important when it comes to that repository. So the way to think about it, Concord is designed to be a one-stop shop for all of your contracts or documents. Many of our customers use Concord for more than just contracts. They actually will use it for all of their internal policies, their board minutes, you name it, like any kind of document they have in their company. A lot of our customers just keep them in Concord because we don't cap or limit the amount of documents in the system. It's funny, and I don't know if any of them are on this call, but I was helping implement a customer recently. When I first talked to them in the sales process, they're like, "Yeah, we've got about 3,000 documents." They uploaded everything they want. This was a really quick, process to everything in the system. I go in to look at their account like a week later, and I'm like, you have 11,000 documents. Like I thought you only were going to upload 3,000, but they realized that there's just so much more that they could be putting in the system because it does a good job to track everything. So all I'm saying is don't limit, your expectations for what you can put in the tool. If you've got documents, feel free to upload them for sure. But when it comes to the organization of that inbox and of the entire database here, the things I'm going to cover are really important because now that you have those documents in the system, we want to talk about how to actually limit access and permissions and those types of things. So the best way to do that is to set up all your users first, and also put them into teams or groups. That's going to be super important for the folder structure. So when you go to add groups to folders, you don't have to do them one by one. And those teams are going to be really nice because if somebody leaves the company in a certain department or team and then you replace them and hire someone new, you simply put them in that team, and then all the documents that other person had access to, now the new person has access to. So it's just really nice to be able to kind of move people in and out. So you got your teams there. We also have our roles. This is where you have all of your standard system roles. We do have custom roles available as well. So if you want to get really specific about what a user can do in the system, you can create a custom role. You can say, hey, for a compliance officer, I want them to be able to do all these things, but not all these other things. And there's tons of different options here to choose from. And then last of all, that folder structure with those permissions. So if I give someone access to a folder, they'll be able to see the documents in it. They'll receive deadline alerts for those documents, and that's how it works. Now, so we have our contracts in the tool. We have the repository set up. The other thing to talk about is you're automatically pulling all the deadlines from your contract. So we have our deadline report that's going to be shown here. This is our list view report. Right now it's being filtered by a specific month range. You can, of course, change that to whatever you want. And then the other thing we have is our calendar view. So this is where you can come in and take a look at, hey, what are all my contracts about to expire this month, next month, whatever. And you can even sync this with your own calendar as well. So if you want to sync it with Outlook or Google, you can do that through the system. Of course, you also will receive that email every Monday that's going to show you all the upcoming deadlines in the system. And so you'll be able to receive that deadline alert email as well. But the last piece of this to really talk about is the reporting in the system. So we have all the data in the database. Now we want to be able to report on the data in the database. So first thing that you could do is you can create a custom report. So I can come in here, signed in the last 30 days report. And the way that these reports work is, well, there's a few system, reports in there, but you can also build anything custom that you would like. So to do that, you'll come into actually, I'll just build a report with you. Let's just build a report. That'd be a lot easier to do. Let me get back out of here real quick, go new report. So let's say we want to see a report of, we'll make it challenging, contracts over 100,000 signed in 2025. How about that? Great. So to do this report, and as you see when I come in, I already have kind of like my preset data because I don't have any filters applied yet or anything. So first of all, I can choose which fields I want to show. I have way too many fields on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect a whole bunch of stuff. I do want to see the financials here. So I'll go ahead and just save that. That's how that works there. There we go. And then I'm also going to move over to my filter now. So we are looking at contracts over a certain amount. So I'm going to go to total value, and we're going to say that's going to be greater than 100,000. And there we go. And then we're also going to say that we want to see contracts created within a certain date range. We want signed. Okay, so we're going to go signed here. We're going to say signed on between. And you can click here too if you want to. I could just go like that. It's a little bit faster. So that's that one. Yes, we're going to say the first. And then we will go 2025, December 31st. Great. I don't know if I have any that meet this criteria. I probably don't. That's okay. We'll just, I think they're probably older than that, the ones that are in here. Yeah, I messed that one up. See? Even after 10 years, it takes a second sometimes. Here we go. There we go. All right. So anyway, you can kind of see the idea behind this. You'll pick your date range, you'll throw it in there, and then ultimately you'll get to your set of documents. So now I have contracts over 100,000. These were not necessarily signed in that year. They were most of them were signed before that. But you can kind of see how the filters work when you're building a report in the system. And then the nice thing, especially with Horizon 2, and it works in the old system, it's just a little bit different. But now you have your report, you have all the documents here. I can export this out into the system from either an Excel or CSV file and just have all that data here. And of course, you can choose whatever columns you want and customize that and get to the set of data that you need. So that's all there. So that's how you build a report in the system. Now, we do currently have an analytics dashboard in Concord as well. Right now, I think, oh no, looks like they just fixed it. There was a bug yesterday and I think they updated it. So this will show us how many total documents we have over time, is that kind of the first one. You can also see the number of documents created by month and what status they're in. So we create a bunch of them, but they're not signed yet, that type of thing. How many documents are signed per month? How many documents were executed, like what the status of them is, or are they still active or not, and the number of documents renewing per month as well. So those are there. We are going to be releasing a big refresh to our analytics, and you'll be able to do custom analytics here pretty soon in the system. But for right now, we have some static fields. They're kind of the same things that have been there for a long time. The other thing you might not know about is we do have an activity log in Concord. So if you ever wanted to see like an audit trail or an activity log of what's happening in the system, hey, are people actually using Concord? What are they doing in the system? You just come in here to activity and you can actually see that log of just who's doing what. Are they in documents? Are they uploading stuff? Whatever. So you can see that here. You can also export that activity from the system. So yeah, that's all there in the system as well, if you didn't know. I think those are the main things I wanted to cover. I really wanted to focus on that repository side of things today, kind of just show you the basics, the best practices. So the biggest thing is, getting your folder set up the right way, getting your users and groups set up, and then uploading the documents and setting up your data fields. Once you have all those things nailed, I think the system really will take care of the rest. It'll help you set up your deadline alerts. You can pull reports as needed, and you should be good to go. Other questions, just let me know. Put them into the chat here or the Q&A. And hopefully you learned something today. I know a lot of people on this call are very much Concord experts, so you probably didn't learn a lot today, but maybe at least was a good refresher. I don't know. So, but thank you all for joining.